Good day everyone. Today we'll talk about systematic approach to teaching. A plan that emphasizes the parts may pay the cost of failing to consider the whole, and plan that emphasizes the whole must pay the cost of failing to get down to the real depth with respect to the parts, according to C. West Churchman. So our focus question is, what is systematic or system approach to teaching, and what are the elements of a systematic approach to teaching? So these are the systematized instruction, from defining objectives, choose appropriate methods, choose appropriate experiences, select materials, equipment, and facilities, assign personal roles, implement instructions, evaluate outcomes, and refine the process. Systematic approach to teaching. Systematic means organized, relating to, or consisting of a system. Methodical and procedure or plan, or systematic approach. Logical, presented or formulated as coherent body of ideas or principle, or systematic thought. Efficient, effective in a class that is marked with thoroughness and regularity, or systematic efforts. Systematic approach to teaching. It is a network of elements or parts different from each other, but each one is special in the sense that each performs a unique function for the life and effectiveness of the instructional system. So the system approach views the entire educational program as a system of closely interrelated parts. It is an orchestrated learning pattern with all parts harmoniously integrated into the whole. So the school, the teacher, the students, the objectives, the media, the materials, and assessment tools and procedure. Such an approach integrates the older, more familiar methods and tools of instruction in the new ones, such as computer. So the purpose of a system instructional design is to ensure orderly relationships and interaction of human, technical, and environmental resources to fulfill the goals which have been established for instruction. The focus of systematic instructional planning is of course the students. It tells about the systematic approach to teaching in which the focus in the teaching is our students. First is to define objectives or identify the content. Instruction begins with a definition of instructional objectives that consider the student's needs, interests, and readiness. Next, choose appropriate methods. On the basis of these objectives, the teacher selects the appropriate teaching methods to be used. Third, choose appropriate experiences. Based on the teaching method selected, the appropriate learning experiences and appropriate material, equipment, and facilities will also be selected. Fourth, select materials, equipment, and facilities. The use of learning materials, equipment, and facilities necessitates assigning the personnel to assist the teacher. Fifth, assign personnel roles. So defining the role of any personnel involved in the preparation, setting, and returning of these learning resources would also help in the learning process. Sixth, implement the instruction. With instructional objectives in mind, the teacher implements planned instructions with the use of the selective teaching method, learning activities and learning materials with the help of other personnel whose role has been defined by the teacher. 7. Evaluate outcomes. After instructions, teacher evaluates the outcome of the instruction. From the evaluation result, teacher comes to know if the instructional objectives was attained. 8. Refine the process. If the instructional objective was attained, teacher proceeds to the next lesson, going through the same cycle once more. Instruction begins with the definition of instructional objectives that consider the student's needs, interests, and readiness. The use of learning materials, equipment, and facilities necessitates assigning the appropriate personnel to assist the teacher in defining the role of any personnel involved in the preparation, setting, and returning of these learning resources. Effective use of learning resources is dependent on the expertise of the teacher, the motivation level or responsiveness, and the involvement of the students in the learning process. With instructional objective in mind, the teacher implements planned instruction with the use of selected teaching method, learning activities, and learning materials with the help of other personnel whose role has been defined by the teacher. These are examples of activities and examples of learning resources. So from reading, writing, interviewing, reporting, or doing presentation, discussing, thinking, reflecting, dramatizing, and visualizing. So the learning resources needed are textbook, workbooks, program materials, computer, television programs, flat pictures, slides and transparencies, map charts, and cartoons. For example, if you have creating, judging, or evaluating, so your resources are posters, models, mock-ups, planner board materials, chalkboard, and real objects. After instruction, teacher evaluates the outcome of the instruction. From the evaluation results, teacher comes to know if the instructional objective was attained. If the instructional objective was attained, teacher proceeds to the next lesson, going through the same cycle once more. But if the instructional objective was not attained, then teacher diagnoses what was not learned and finds out why it was not learned in order to introduce a remedial measure for improved students' performance and attain of instructional objective. This way, no learners will be left behind. The system's approach to instruction is simply in theory but far from being simplistic in practice. It is not just a matter of a teacher formulating his or her lesson objective, then directly teaching the student. There are a lot of elements or factors that the teacher has to take into consideration: students' needs, interests, home background, prior experiences, developmental stage, nature, and the like. The teacher in the choice of the most appropriate teaching method, learning activities, and learning resources considers the nature of her subject matter, availability of resources, his or her capability, the developmental stage of students, and of course, his or her lesson objective. He or she can choose assessment method for learning is likewise dependent on the lesson objective. The action the teacher takes after getting assessment result is being based on the assessment result. Acceptability of remedial measure, the parents and students, like a tutorial class after class hours. Will an extra hour after class devoted to tutorial be acceptable to the students and parents concerned? So the phases or elements are connected to one another. If one element or one phase of the instructional process fails, the outcome, which is learning, is adversely affected. The attainment of the learning objective is dependent on the synergy of all elements and of all actors involved in the process. The purpose of a system instructional design is to ensure that orderly relationship and interaction of human, technical, and environmental resources to fulfill the goals which have been established for instruction. That's according to Brown, 1969. Thank you.